Hello everyone, and this is Juliana from StartSmart. I'm going to take some time today to walk you through how your costs, both fixed and variable, as well as your margin, feed into how well your business does. So you'll notice that in the sample model that we have here, we've separated it into fixed costs, variable costs, which we've summed up to give us our total cost, as well as our margin, which is the difference between the revenue that we're earning and the cost of each of the different items. So we've used StartSmart as an example. We've put in some fictitious prices, time periods, quantity sold per month, and margins, just to give you a bit of an illustration. So to start, we have three fixed costs: rent and utilities, the number of units consumed per month, meaning however many times per month we pay for it, which is just one, the number of months per year, then of course the total cost that arises from that. I'll come to the percentages in a moment. So I've detailed things like our cell phone plan and our production permit for the various trainings and books that we produce. Now, when we move to our variable costs, we have our costs for our social media marketing. We also have a production manager and a sales manager. And you'll notice that we have three products, which you'll see later on in the revenue section or the margin section: our training content, our book publishing, and our seminars. So again, we've detailed the number sold per month, number of months per year, unit cost, and of course, whatever our total cost or revenue turns out to be. So above this blue line, it'll all be costs. Below it, it ends up being our margin actually. So the difference between our revenue and our costs. Now, we've set our target margin for ourselves, meaning the target profit margin that we would like to earn per year, as 20%. And what we're trying to do is figure out, at a given quantity of sales, at a given price, and at a given percentage discount or a percentage margin, how are we able to perform relative to the target? So coming back to the percentages, as I promised before, 100% represents the total cost or the total price of the final item. So I'll step back a bit and give you an example that should hopefully give you some context, and then I'll continue with the explanation of the percentages. So there was a time when we worked with a client who was a retailer. Now, what this retailer had previously been doing was going to other retail shops, that is, rather than going to wholesale shops, purchasing items and reselling it, which, especially in developing countries like Ghana, is a fairly common thing for people to do. The only problem is, by purchasing things at retail price, right, without getting a discount from your suppliers, and then adding on your margin, inherently you end up being less competitive than the person that you bought it from. So if you bought it from a store down the street, that store will always be more competitive than you because you're adding a margin to whatever price you purchased it from them for. So what we began to talk to them about, was figuring out how they could negotiate supplier discounts so that their final retail price, which we'll call 100%, would not ever exceed what it was that their suppliers were selling it for. So the difference between the retail and the discount that they would get from the suppliers would end up being their margin. So coming back to the percentages here, we have our book publishing and acquisition, for example. And what I've put down is 60%. So what that means is, out of the 100% price, which is $15, 60% of that goes to the book printers and publishers, and the remaining 40% is what we would retain as revenues and royalties. Same thing for our training content. 80% goes to the content producers, that is 80% of the 400 per unit of the training, and the remaining 20% is what we retain as our margin, that is our profit. For the seminars, there's zero production costs, so therefore 100% of the margin goes to us. So what you'll notice is, as we begin to play around with the margin, it affects how we perform relative to our target margin. That is the target profit margin that we are hoping to get. So let's go here, and let's, for example, change this from 80% to 60%, meaning that we're able to negotiate a better discount And as you'll see, we go from a 20% margin to a 40% margin. And this improves our performance. We've gone from, I believe it was around 14% relative to our target of 20% to hitting 33%. Prices also feed into this. Let's change our price to, for example, $200, and you'll notice again, there's a change in our margin. So what this all should really begin to help you think about is, what are the realistic levels of discounts that I should be able to negotiate within my market, right? Based on those discounts, at a given price, is this a realistic quantity for me to sell to be able to meet my target? If not, maybe I need to be thinking about raising the price. Maybe I need to readjust the number that I'm selling. Or maybe I need to talk to my suppliers about the percentage discount that I'm going to get. So this is just a snapshot. I would like you, of course, to sort of have access to the model and begin to play around with it yourself. But in order to have access to the model, you can go to Udemy, look up our course, Building a Winning Startup. Once you register for the course, you have access to all of the course materials, which include this cost model. It's a great exercise whether you're just starting a business or you're more established, to help you really figure out how you're able to meet your targets, right? Because high performing businesses are those that set targets for themselves and hold themselves to those targets, and what you need to be able to do to sort of meet those goals that you've set for yourself. I hope this was helpful, and we look forward to having you guys tune in some more. Bye.